CNT has all your favorite movies. Wednesday at 9 Eastern. It's the smash hit movie, Bad Girls. Car Wash Fundraiser. Message of Hope. May not be suitable for all viewers. This is CNT.
Tonight, a major TV event. Part one of the story of the remote Dutch trading post that would become the dominant world. It captured our imagination and held our dreams close to the edge, gently drowning us in weekly discharge. It is the site of some of mankind's most grandiose achievements, and also our society's most squalid and depraved debaucheries. A history of liberty. Major support for this documentary is brought to you by the Bank of Liberty and the Public Broadcasting Corporation, where our budget is cut every year to pay for more bombs. If you take a look at the microcosm that is Liberty City, millions of people, a collective consciousness utterly alone in a crowd, a million souls crying out to be heard, piled on top of each other, like kittens in a bag, all wanting to kill each other or suffer in society's teeth. It's a city with so much history. It is the history of the modern world, particularly for people who can't use a map. And like sweeping generalizations, a history of decadence, a history of corruption, a history of liberty. On September 4th, 1609, Horatio Humboldt, an English explorer hired by the Dutch to find a new place to sell wheat, steered his trusty ship into the mouth of a great river, the Humboldt, which he wrote in his log. "'Tis a strange and fortuitous coincidence that lush future site of commerce coincidentally shares the same name as me, for the locals call it the Humboldt. Honestly."
That being said, looking through contemporary journals, even then the Humboldt River was a polluted mess. The Chickasaw Indians would shit and piss right in the river. It wasn't safe to swim in. With that knowledge, it makes it much easier to ignore the awful genocide and epic larceny our forefathers committed and talk about big ideas in grandiose terms and hope we get book deals.
Horatio Humboldt stumbled into the natural harbor that would become the greatest sociological experiment the world had ever seen, to determine if all the people in the world could live together in a single place.
The answer is, of course, no. Liberty City was founded by the Dutch, and all the Dutch cared about was appearing to be purveyors of liberal values. But all they really cared about was pimping women and getting high. They were, in effect, well, I guess the first rappers. They wanted to find a place where they could party and kill people. Knowing this, it does make the act of highway robbery that our forefathers committed with regards to the Dutch a lot easier to forget, and we simply mask it in patriotic foundation myths.
Unlike other cities in the New World, founded to facilitate new forms of religious persecution by lunatics who'd been run out of Europe by liberals, Liberty City was founded not to promote religious intolerance, but instead the other central tenet of Western European society, getting rich off of other people's work.
You have to understand that when the Europeans arrived, the people that met them were savages. Can you imagine landing in a foreign land and being surrounded by men in loincloths? It's sort of hard to concentrate on fending off bubonic plague or sleeping with your pretty little 14-year-old wife when there are savages with no clothes running around. Luckily, we had a few tricks up our sleeve for dealing with them.
When Liberty City was founded at the beginning of the modern age, it quickly expanded its ego and learned to hate everyone else. Cities that were 3,000 years old couldn't hold a candle to the undisputed, self-appointed capital of the world.
Oh, the maps were really, really shitty back then. I mean, I don't know if it was the drink or the scurvy or the raging syphilis passed about by the town bike, but look at this map. It's like a Spaniard with polio painted it. It's one of the reasons people took so long to get anywhere. I mean, the shitty maps.
The other reason was the savages.
Advertisements were sent back to Europe, promising settlers a new life in a new city that had 24-hour convenience stores, roller coasters, and the entertainment of a nightly hanging at the gallows. All the things civilization had brought to bear on this land. All of Europe wanted to come see what freedom was really like. When they arrived, they were aghast at America's new pastime, watching animals fuck and betting on it.
Yes, well, this truly was the city of the future.
Word spread, so did the settlement. They chose the slender island in the bay, which they called Algonquin, after the old Indian word Algon-ku-win, thought by some to mean place for condo skyscraper, and by others as island to catch an STD. In 1625, right after the colony was founded, the first ship of slaves arrived to give the hard-working, morally upstanding, non-hypocritical Americans, newly free from the tyranny of Europe, time to focus on important things in life, like yelling at their women for buying too much shit in the strip mall.
The new economy was a boom. It was very different from failed Jamestown, where a bunch of incest-loving cannibals consumed each other in an orgiastic fury of self-important nonsense. Although the exact nature of the differences escapes me just at the moment. But regardless, Liberty City gave the white settlers plenty of time to focus on the important things, like getting laid.
The slave craze was huge. It was like waiting for a new iFruit phone to come out. People would line up at the docks and wait in line for days to own their very own person, and then put them online for a higher price. Some dissenters wondered about the moral consequences of a nation founded on genocide, slavery, and theft, but they were quickly imprisoned as being unpatriotic by proto-chickenpox. Of course, we have very different values now.
That year, all the local indigenous tribes were brought together and paid for what would be the greatest real estate deal in the history of the world. 14,000 acres of prime downtown real estate for some spare change, a porno magazine, and front row tickets for a game of cricket.
Cricket is the most boring game ever. What do the British know about sports? They're all gay.
The Dutch had a land of plenty. They traded beaver skins, a 17th century version of wife swap, and partying late into the night. But founding a country on getting shit-faced and working slaves was trouble from the start. It hadn't worked for the Greeks, and it wouldn't work for the Dutch. 4,000 miles from home and no internet connection to read up on soccer scores, the populace became disenchanted. The colony's deep-seated racism and love of 24-hour shopping would begin to prove to be its undoing.
What happens when you take a whole chicken, pack it full of mashed potatoes, top it full of gravy, insert some corn, then deep fry it? You've got yourself a meal. The all-new stuffed Pollo Total Frito, now at Cluck and Bell. The meal in one just got massive. Cluck and Bell.
Liberty City, you don't need money to drive away at Sully. How about the Farachi? Here's a fine racing machine for you. There's been a lot of special moments in this beauty. So special, there was an Amber Alert issued. They never found her, but it's yours for $7,999. Enjoy the power of the open road today. Oh boy, Sully's got a nice one for you here. The Emperor, fast as hell. And the airbags have been successfully tested by the previous 3 owners. None of them are in the state to drive anymore, so the car is yours now for the low price of $12,999. Sully's has trucks, too. The